I hate when this does this. Thank you for joining me for another 5 questions. It's your girl, AJ, the Suburban Princess here back. It's been a while. It's been a new year. I know I've been taking a while to do this one, but I have to make sure I get really special people this year because 2022 is already looking to be a very interesting year. And so part of my appearance, I'm a little gully today because I'm still working from home, but my guest who's going to join me today is someone who is so interesting. There is no way in hell I was going to miss a chance to get her to talk to me. So welcome, Sharee. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much, AJ. This is awesome to be here. I am able to enjoy a day in the office and talk to you about just the great things that, everybody hears about, but also just, we literally don't get a break. Like now the NFL is ongoing. So
And
it does
I'm
not
totally
stop.
envious of you because I love being busy, but that's the kind of busy that I mean. But this is why I wanted you on this program. So thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
All right. My first question is because you did mention in the background, obviously, you work in the NFL. What
Yeah.
exactly is your title? And my first question has always been what have you learned from being in such a genre in the NFL as you do?
So wow.
It's a loaded
You know
question.
what, how they say that you wear so many different hats.
Yes.
So let me say this. So yes, I am in our game day central compliance room, and I'm in compliance policy, but also work with, of course, business strategy, and with that also comes with working the NFL draft. So in the process of everything, so it's actually been 6 years that I've been here. And I would say within my path of being able to get here, I've been able to marry my love of just sports and communications,
Mm-hmm.
as well as just knowing the game and the policies of what we see with players
Mm-hmm.
and everything that goes on in the business of the game. So the business strategy comes in for me. And this has been it's it's been a learning curve when it comes to coming from ESPN and being able to, and I continue to do sports journalism and radio, but being on the production side,
Mm-hmm.
more so on the forefront of just compliance and policy, and more so into the game and football operations of everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So in my role, I'm in on-field compliance. And so with that, everything is, you know, rules, down to uniform. And
Yes.
of course, everything is on field down to whether a player was actually fined for a play that happened on the field that he wasn't flagged for and that he wasn't.
Oh
And
wow.
with business strategy, it comes just to the business part of the game, just how football operations is able to strategize and actually monopolize on what we do in this business along with the other departments. So, being able to take those ideas to areas that, some may think, well, I mean, how is what you do, how would that help events? And
Mm.
that is where, NFL draft comes in, and we're able to actually, take these prospects through this process of the beginning to when they get drafted, and
Mm.
what they can expect, what, things are
Yeah.
going to happen, just the questions, things they will hear,
Mm-hmm.
um, being able to bring in, current and former players in to talk to these guys, has been tremendous. So I've been doing the NFL draft since 2017, was in Philadelphia, and it was
Oh,
all,
ding ding ding.
I personally still think that was our best draft. I
Tell them,
do.
girl. Tell them,
It,
girl. They hating because they know Philly had the livest draft night, day,
yeah,
weekend, whatever.
it was, I completely, and I say that with a sincere spirit, because it was our first outside draft,
Right.
and I have to completely give kudos to the city of Philadelphia of just the support that we got and everything that they did to help lead up to that moment on
Yes.
Thursday night. You
Yes.
just I've been able to see in other cities, but it's not mirrored what Philadelphia did in 2017.
You
So
heard it here first, people. She has
yes.
confirmed we were fire and they need to come back. But going back
Yes.
to originally my question, so do you
Mhm.
feel that what is the plus about what you're doing at this moment? Like, what do you feel as a woman that you have learned that has sparked your interest so much in keeping this position and continuing with it?
Being able to build upon the relationships when it comes to we as women actually do have a seat at the table. So how, when you do get that seat,
Yes.
how do you actually prepare for being able to have your voice heard and knowing that this is an opportunity that everyone doesn't get. So what have I learned from that? I've learned that when you are at that table, make sure that you're prepared and you actually had value in what you're able to do. Anybody can say, well, I love football. Anybody can say, I know football. But
Yes.
when I get to the table, I am able to not just say these things, I'm able to show my value. I'm able to execute, things that I know I can do. I'm able to actually put a think piece together and actually see this come to fruition. So it's
Mhm.
not, just, making sure, rules are checked and people are doing what they're supposed to do, but it's managing, it's actually
Mm,
processes that
yes.
we actually have to go through. So I've learned that you definitely have to be more prepared than anyone
Amen.
because
Amen.
it's one of those things that, yeah, I mean,
You got one shot.
we all say it, oh, it's we're, the women in the room, but do we really have a voice? Yes, you do.
Of
But
course.
you have to know how to use that voice. You also have to know what value you bring to the table and be confident in what you are actually able to relate to others. I don't just say I know the game and don't know what I'm talking about. Like, being able to study,
Hmm.
being able to nurture the relationships that I have and offer someone else advice, being able to look at everything, from whether it's marketing, whether it's events, whether it's, player relations, but
Mm,
also just what I do and how we can all work together. Because, of course, our mission is and always will be how can we better this game for the players and the fans and everyone that loves, professional football.
and
So,
that's what I love. And I thank you for even mentioning that because someone like
yeah.
me who never really even thought about it until my mid to late 20s into my 30s, because
Mhm.
my daddy was a sportsman, of course.
Yeah.
I grew up in a house where he shouted at the TV, but I
Yeah.
only, as far as worked in the field as a game day manager, event staff, I went through the whole thing for 13 seasons. I left in 2008, around in the time that obviously, I mean, 2018, I'm sorry, was my last season. And I got to the point where I realized it was a blessing, but I
Right.
wished I would have made more connections and been able to advance. So when I asked you that too, because it's very important for me to get to know people like yourself, because
Yeah.
my friend OJ, who used to work at the link, was the reason
Mhm.
why we even started talking on Twitter in the
Yes.
first place. So I shout out to OJ because he's out there doing his
Yes.
media thing. He's getting his shine out there. God bless
Yes.
him. Um, but someone who is a hero in your life, please tell me someone that you look up to, because we all have heroes, but who is the person who you basically say is basically the reason for your passion, your drive for everything you're doing?
Well, of course, I would definitely have to go to my mentor, Jim Trotter.
Ah,
Jim has been in this business for over 20 years.
mm,
Being able to actually just respect Jim for his knowledge, his sports journalism. And I know, like, being in college and everything, and just seeing, just how passionate Jim was about telling the story, you
mm,
know, it wasn't about a specific game, but what story can I tell that I can get out of this that is going to give other young writers just the feel of what's going on.
Right.
And as you know, Jim wrote the book about Junior Seau, and it's an awesome book. If you haven't read it, and anyone else, to
I'm gonna
definitely
look it up. Yes.
so being a part of national sports journalists and a part of our sports task force has allowed me, and through that, to grow under great journalists is Jim Trotter. And looking at just the overall perspective of, if this is what you really love to do, again, like I said, my passion to marry my love with sports, not just football, but also journalism, and just knowing the business side of what we do is so much more important as well, has been able to actually give me that perspective of what this means, and Jim is my hero, like
Nice.
he's one of those that I could always call for advice, just looking through, the lens of, this is what I see, but how
Right.
can I tell the story,
Right.
and I still do my writings. I still do my weekly NFL wires. I listen to
I
radio
get them.
podcasts, and I'm able to talk about that because I think it has to start from somewhere for everybody, and for me, it started from there, how, if I love this, how can I start telling the story? Like I see, all of Jim's work, what he's done growing up in this, as you mentioned, and then being able to just see the things he did in his career, even from SI is the longest time that he spent, and able to do that has helped me to get to where I am now, because everyone says, well, how did you get into this? And I was like, it was writing, not just, okay, I'm watching a game, but
Right.
writing and telling the story,
Did the work. Yeah, you did the work.
And so I would definitely, I thank God every day for, of course, women that we've seen, just literally, I mean, hit strides that
Yes.
we would have saw, up until over the past few years, but he is definitely my hero. I mean, he's intelligent and a genuine person that anyone could obviously sit down with and learn a lot from. So that's helped me. That's helped me get better in my writing, just, storytelling, and just everything that I do now on this end in the National Football League.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. And see, I know when we first started talking more on Twitter, you had stressed you needed somewhere to live in Philly. And I was just like, girl, I am not the best person to say, because I'm trying to get out of Jiggertown suburbia, move back to the city. And I haven't gotten that straight yet. But how was your move to Philly? I wanted to ask, because last time we talked, I know you were still like in the process of getting comfortable. So how have you done in the past year since the pandemic let up and everything?
So that's been great. That was the best move that I've made.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it.
Everyone has their opinions about Philadelphia, but I love Philadelphia. I love that I'm there. It is a city that I feel like professionally, you have everything when it comes to whether it's a neighbor or someone that you may know within, our National Association of Sports Journalists, just within our group, and others that you're able to connect with.
Nice.
I personally don't think that I had that anywhere else, and this was the best move that I made. So I love Philadelphia, and I'm able to have more of a work-life balance, which means a lot for me,
Yes.
Yes. Because, being in Manhattan and being able to go home to Philadelphia, I tell everybody, I was like, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. And they're like, you really like Philadelphia? I'm like, I love Philadelphia. So yeah.
Say it again, because Lord knows, we're so quick to be the city of brotherly love, but then people want to turn around and show all the instances of non-love. And it really is perspective, but that's good to hear. And I'm glad you're settled. And just FYI, there's a restaurant week coming up soon. So make sure once it gets warm, You take
Yes,
advantage of that. You know,
yes,
if you want to hang with me, let me know ahead of time so I can actually
yes,
look
we'll have
nice
to go. We'll definitely have to go. But
and
no,
do something.
again, any place that gives you a work-life balance, and
Yes.
I just feel like the professionals there, it's so many people you can connect with.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah. And
That's
that's a big deal, especially like when you are going through a change, a lifestyle change. Now,
right.
I want to go back to, as a Black woman, especially someone like myself who has learned, I
Mhm.
got on the podcasting to keep myself sane. You know, I told you I was doing this to vent, just to get stuff off my chest. And it's grown into something bigger since the pandemic because I wanted to get over my fear of looking into a camera because I hadn't done any acting classes in like 20 years. I wanted to get over
Right.
that whole phobia. So if there's one thing I noticed, that we have become very divided, obviously, in the sports realm because of everything that's been up and down with our teams and all four teams or whatever. We've been going through a drought. And so now, as you know, when I see your tweets every time we're talking about the Sixers,
Right.
we're at a point now where it's like people are treating it like DEFCON 5 if we don't get a championship here in the next year. So I'm just going to straight up tell you, I'm not pressed. Well, it may not be football related because I'm not worried about the Eagles just yet because we're in that early stages and the draft and stuff. And it's going to be exciting that it's in Vegas. So I'm really excited to see how they do this.
Mhm.
But what is your overall opinion about our Sixers? And do you think that you see a longer postseason, or do we feel like we're going to just end up in the first or second round and go out?
I see a Sixers team this year that looks more focused on building as a team when it comes to being able to have a longer postseason. I don't think that they had that last year,
Mm-mm.
only because the continuity wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say continuity, I mean you may have had one or two players that had big games, but it wasn't consistently every night.
Right.
And I see that more because it seems as if these guys are they're more comfortable and they're more focused on actually building the team in order to get to that championship.
Exactly.
The Eastern Conference, as we know, is a much tougher conference because all the teams are so close with their records
Right.
as of now, and with there only being maybe 8 more regular season games left before the playoffs actually start, it's going to be very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And who takes those first 5 top spots? And then, of course, you'll have other teams trickle down from, 6, 7, and 8, and then the other teams that will be playing the play-in game this year.
Right.
So this team, yes, I can definitely see them actually making a longer postseason run because they do look more focused. They look more together as a team,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more continuity with guys being consistent. And it's not just, I'm complacent with just playing a point guard position. I'm complacent with just being that guy who's going to get you, 10 rebounds and 5 assists every game, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys work hard. And that's what I'm super happy to see when it comes to guys that have stepped up this year. When it comes to your Tyrese Maxey's, second year guys that we've seen that it's like, wow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this young man has totally,
Yeah.
I mean, taken his game to another level.
Breath of
And,
fresh air. Breath of fresh air.
and when you have guys that have that same mentality and that
Mm-hmm.
focus, and they are not just, going down the court and shooting the ball, but they're playing defense.
Yep.
That means a lot. So
That's
yeah, I
important.
see that. And I think that the team this year looks totally different from the team that we saw last year in last year's playoffs.
And that's honestly important, especially like I said, we're in this weird phase as a fan where
Yeah.
it's like you're off and on, you're hot and
Right.
cold, you just don't know where
Right.
every team stands. It seems like when we get excited about one game, then they lose 5 games, so we're starting a whole nother like season, and thank God it's spring, because at this point I'm ready to talk Phillies only because I like being outside again.
Right.
I'm not as scared as I was
Right.
before, but I do want to go to a Phillies game at some point just to be out in
Right.
vitamin D. But I thank you. I don't want to keep you too long, but I this is important 5 questions to me because I don't even know if I even asked all four. I'm so nervous at this point because I'm excited that you're talking, but at the same time, I want to make sure I ask you everything. La, 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 la. Okay, so last question I will ask you though, I do feel advancement, because I know, like I just said, when I was working at the link and stuff like that, I never thought about avenues to navigate to
Right.
go to another rank. Do you feel like that's possible in your position to get to a higher level, or are you fine with where you at because you've already learned more probably than you ever thought you would, probably in that position? And do you feel like the position could only lead to bigger things?
No, I definitely think that there's room for advancement and
Okay.
improvement in things that not just that I've learned that I can continue to grow in. One thing about me that anyone will tell you is that my faith is always bigger, with just what I know God can do.
Right.
And it's one of those things that we can't pray about really wanting something unless we're really ready for it. So one of the things that I do know is that, in this league, there are opportunities for us to grow. There are opportunities for us to learn different things that will, take you out of your comfort zone, which is always great. A lot of people are afraid of change. I'm not afraid of change because I feel like that strengthens you in areas that allow you to mentally think more and to build upon what can you do to add value in another area of your life. So advancement is definitely here, even in other areas. I always tell people you never get complacent to where you are. You always say, well, what if I, aspire to do this one day and things like that? Because, you want to be able to grow and to, of course, to go to something bigger and better wherever you go. So yes, that is something that, I do look forward to doing one day. So yeah.
Well, God bless you, because you made the time for me. I know you're busy, but honestly, you've helped me more than you know. I think that, like I said, I wanted to grow with this podcast, and I'll get better. Trust me, because I want to get my
No,
background
you're
together.
great. You're absolutely great. I appreciate the time and
Thank
appreciate
you.
the questions.
Thank you.
And anytime you let me know whenever we can come back on and talk. Of course, I am getting ready for the draft in
Yeah,
about
so you'll
4
be
weeks.
busy.
We are 30 days out right now.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Getting ready
thank you.
to Vegas. So it's going to be very interesting.
It's going to
But
be
it
very
won't be
interesting.
Philadelphia.
Yes. I want you to be safe, obviously, out there. Eventually, like I said, you and me will get together, we'll chat, because I would definitely love to get advice from you. And it's always nice to hear somebody who uplifts somebody else, even if we've mostly been talking through Twitter. But I feel like most of my friendships have been growing through the internet more than outside of real life, which is a little weird, but it's probably a blessing. But
Yeah.
I thank you so much, Sharee. I
Thank you.
wish you so many blessings, and I will
Thank
definitely
you.
talk to you soon. Thank you for joining 5 Questions, and
Yes.
peep me on my AJ Jones YouTube channel. Subscribe.
I
who all are
will.
watching, and God bless you, Sharee. Thank you for all
You
the women
too,
out
and
there.
same to you.
Yes, your dreams can't
Thank
come
you.
true. Let's put that message
Okay.
out there. Have a great day. Thank
You too.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.